everyone. Ryan Fowler here with the MindChrysalis live inner game group. Here with my good friends Tim and Jordan, both certified hypnotists. We have an interesting one today. This one's kind of dense, dense with facts. And we're going to look at, there's this guy who gives this clip. There's some stuff to agree on. There's some stuff to disagree. There's some things he's leaving out that we're going to fill in the blanks. But it's very thought-provoking clip today on why are people attracted to abusive people? Why do people get an abusive relationship after abusive relationship? So we're going to dive into that, going to dive into this video clip. But first, Tim and Jordan, introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Tim with clearthattrauma.com. And one of the things we're going to get into today are the things that we help people do. And that is number one, and we'll watch the number of failures throughout this video. You have to build a solid inner game with which you now construct a solid frame to conduct your life so that you don't get into these situations. If somebody's not operating where you need them to operate, they're not in your frame, they're out, and you dismiss them and move on. Take it away, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm Jordan Kurtz, Jordan Kurtz Hypnosis. I should really come up with some sort of stump speech for this part, shouldn't I? Yeah. I'm a hypnotist. I hypnotize people, help people. That's the pitch. That's the value pitch.
All right, very good. And what we do, the subconscious mind is our world. It's what we work with. We work directly on the subconscious mind. Deep core identity shifts. We go down to your core. We find anything in there that doesn't serve you. Number one is toxic shame, feeling not good enough, not believing in your ability and value. We fix that. Interestingly enough, when we fix that, people who in times past were attracted to abusive people or would attract abusive people, because it actually goes both ways. They attract each other, or an abuser will often target people susceptible to being abused. Interestingly enough, you fix your core at a deep core level where you now know how to accept yourself, love yourself, validate yourself, believe in your ability and value. All of a sudden, you're not attracted to these abusive people. And then when they come in and do their love bombing, pull their crap, you're just like, yeah, no, bye. And so what we do is we go to these deep core parts in you. We work on cognitive mental models and stuff as well, but really changing your subconscious where it's all at. We don't use cognitive methods to change your subconscious. We know how your subconscious works. We work directly on it. And guess what? There is actually a community with a free 6-part self-hypnosis course. It includes an ebook explaining how your subconscious mind works, a self-hypnosis audio, worksheets, everything, and it's free. And you can go there to MindChrysalis on the school platform. So let me show you this, guys. And this is links in the description. But if you really want to see more of what we do, check this out. So we have a vibrant community. Lots of people are posting, helping each other out, but you get free self-hypnosis here. This isn't just information. You can actually use this to help yourself right here. Just it's school.com/mindchrysalis-7138. And then you get access to self-hypnosis training. Here's a video. There's worksheets. There's audios. There's a book on how your subconscious mind works, why it holds you back. You can do sessions with any one of us. In fact, I am offering free 30-minute consults. That's also in the description. You click on the link. You can book a free 30-minute consult with me for 30 minutes. I'll help you however I can. If you want more guidance on how to use a free program, I'll do that for you. So Jordan and Tim can also be contacted at their website. And we regularly get huge shifts for people. You can just go to the video section of the YouTube channel, watch the testimonials, huge shifts. We do it all the time. Big, massive shifts. But let's go now to this video clip. Maybe Jordan, you can set this up. Your girlfriend referred this to you.
Sure.
Give me a little give our audience a little background here for this.
Well, this YouTube creator, based on what I could find out about him, seems to be a psychologist. He mentions in the video later he has worked with nonprofit organizations for basically abuse victims. And he has he uses this term unconscious mind in a very interesting way. It's sort of more narrow than the way we use it.
Yeah.
And I think some of his criticisms are valid, but I also think it's valid only because his definition of the unconscious mind is so narrow. And so I think that there's a lot of good material to comment on here, and sort of add some context. Tim, was there anything you wanted to add about that?
No, so let's talk about the common thread of what you need to be successful or the most successful in life. Number one is you need to have a solid inner game. And we just mentioned that. Brian brushed over that a little bit. What's that, Ryan?
With solid inner game?
Yeah. So a solid inner game is where, number one, you love yourself all the way to the core. You don't need anybody else on this earth to validate your worth, your value, or your capability. Number two, you need to belong. The first person you need to belong to is yourself, 100%. And then you can find others to belong with, a community, a marriage, a partnership. Who knows what's going on, but you'll find that. Thirdly, you need to feel deserving and with the knowledge that you can get whatever you want. You just got to put your mind to it and go for it. And then when you get it, you actually deserve it and can have joy in enjoying it, right? That's the important part. The other part is you really need to feel safe and secure, all by yourself, not afraid, ready to go take on the world. And then last but not least, you need to make sure that you're clear of all rage and resentment and anger that you have towards anybody or anything in the world. Why? Because it's freeing. It allows you now to build that frame around with what you're going to do in the world and operate well and keep yourself from getting damaged. You'll be impenetrable most of the time. There are some very auspicious people out there that are terrible and really want to tear you up, but they won't have much success with you. So what we'll learn through all of this is through typical cognitive behavioral therapy, family therapy, marriage therapy, all those type of things. They're always looking at the cognitive conscious world that's going on around them and never really diving to the subconscious area that we live in. We want you to help you build that inner game and build that solid frame. And then guess what? You're rocking and rolling for value and joy your whole life. Doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges. Doesn't mean there's not going to be rough spots. It just means that you're more equipped to get yourself through them.
And your foundation's solid. And these therapists, they do understand the subconscious. They try and work on it, but they use your conscious mind. That's your prefrontal cortex is your analytical conscious mind, logical mind, limbic system, and also we have neurons throughout our body. There's we have our small heart, 40,000 neurons on our heart, our second brain on our gut. You guys can Google that. That is more subconscious. We're working directly deep down on what you believe and feel deep down. Get the bad out, put the good in, make changes like that, and it changes everything. So we do have a different philosophy from, and by the way, we're pretty much 20, 50 times more effective than the mainstream. And we're just kind of wondering when the hell they're going to get with the program, but whatever. That's why we got a show to educate people.
That's right.
But we're going to listen. They understand these concepts. They just don't know how to work on the subconscious directly in the most effective manner. But let's go ahead and play this video. Why do certain people attract abusers? What's that all about? Subconsciously or unconsciously, as he puts it. Here we go.
People who manage to escape from abusive religious groups, families, and personal relationships sometimes find themselves repeatedly falling into similar abusive environments. It can be extremely demoralizing. We ask ourselves, how did we end up here again? Adding to the confusion, some mental health professionals will insist the reason we find ourselves in this poisonous spin cycle is that unconsciously we're attracted to abusive individuals. Some secret part of us is actively seeking them out. We're told that on some level, we're actively looking for people who resemble our past abusers. In previous work, I've looked at some of the problems with appeals to unconscious processes. As I've noted, spurious claims about unconscious impulses aren't confined to the world of therapy. They crop up in the social sciences and social media. But it's in the therapeutic arena that bogus speculations about our unconscious motives are possibly most potent. Clients look to therapists for support and insight, and many clients can become extremely vulnerable to suggestion. For that reason, therapists need to exercise caution about the ideas they express and how forcefully they express them.
I am going to comment here. It says imaginary defects. You're flawed spiritually. You're flawed unconsciously. I do believe there's truth to this. If we're raised in an environment where we're told we're stupid or told we're bad, evil, a sinner, or whatever, we may, in fact, not be dumb at all, and there may be nothing wrong with us spiritually. But if we're told that, that actually gets us to believe that, and that's actually toxic shame, believing you're not good enough, even when in reality you're just fine. Welcome to the human race. So we never ever want to make someone feel like there's something wrong with them, when in fact oftentimes there's not, except for the belief that there's something wrong with them. That causes a ridiculous amount of problems, believing that you're flawed and defective when actually you're not. But you were going to say something, Jordan?
Yeah, I think the parallel he's trying to draw is whether you're like, I think he is that a priest, I think, or whatever spiritual leaders in front of them. I think he's trying to draw the parallel that whatever issues the person have, they kind of circle that as you're spiritually flawed or you're unconscious. Like he's trying to say they're almost using two different words to describe the same thing. And I think he's saying that's intellectually lazy to do that.
Yeah.
And I actually think I took the reverse approach, where it's like there actually might be some similar, like people calling it spiritually flawed. I think they used to use the word demons inside of you.
Yeah.
I actually a while back I was considering doing a show. I couldn't find enough source material to cover it, but I was going to talk about how people thinking you have demons inside of you is almost analogous to saying you have trauma. And so this idea that you have this something in you that you need to get out and resolve has been a common theme, but he's criticizing it rather than I was more.
Well, saying you have trauma or you have things in you that need fixing is different from saying you're bad.
Right.
Correct.
You are a fundamentally evil, bad person. You're stupid. You're lazy. You're not good enough. You don't have it in you. You'll never make it in life. All these negative, unfortunately, some people get it from teachers or from parents or from other kids when they're growing up, or from religious leaders, making them seem like they're super evil when they're not. They're really not. They're just people, flawed human beings, trying to survive in this world, trying to survive, hopefully thrive. And then, you're fundamentally bad. And, I don't agree with that. But,
so just to give a flavor here. So Theremin Trees, who is the guy we're watching, is a British therapist and atheist. And he started his channel a long time ago talking about religious abuse and how it affects the rest of your life. Now, abuse is abuse.
True.
Some will use religion as justification. This is the reason you're doing it. God says you're evil. God says, and they use shame in a very toxic manner through that religious abuse to cause you to feel something down to your core. It would be this. You don't need abuse. You could be living in a trailer park in a really bad part of, Georgia, and your parents could just simply use abuse, period, and take it from an authoritative standpoint. They don't need religion. They've got their, working over you because they don't let you see anybody else. So no matter where it comes from, abuse is abuse.
Yeah. And of course, not all religion's bad. There can be a lot of benefits to religion. But in general, authority figures saying this, and he's kind of cautioning against this, that therapists shouldn't, convince people they're defective when they're not, etc. But we'll keep going.
Not all therapists do. Over the years, people have shared many personal experiences in individual or group therapy in which it was claimed they were bringing their misfortunes, their abuse, even their physical illnesses on themselves through their own unconscious wishes. Effectively, they were being told they had a double consciousness, 2 separate functioning minds. Beyond the one they were familiar with from direct experience, there was a second mind operating entirely outside of their awareness, hidden.
I totally
I
disagree with
love
this.
this. I
Well,
love this part.
Him saying this is entirely outside your awareness is bullshit.
Right.
But
Yeah.
how the subconscious works, it's going to do its thing whether you pay attention to it or not.
Correct.
Can you pay attention to it? Can you learn what's down there? Can you connect to it? Absolutely. We do it all day, every day. But saying our subconscious communicates to us through instinct, intuition, and emotion. If there was zero, how would I put it? If it was entirely like something entirely separate from us, it wouldn't affect us. It does affect us through our emotions, instincts, and intuition, and what we feel and what we intuit in certain situations based on these programs in us. So him saying entirely outside, that's just utter bullshit. I have to call him on bullshit there. Go ahead.
See, this is where I kind of think he's using that definition of unconscious mind sort of a little bit differently than we would.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's implying that, because he's using those words, it's secret, you can't see it, and it's calling the shots behind you, and
many people don't see it, but they could.
Right, and that's because that's his model, right? Of
it's
you can't look at it. I'm like, well,
you actually can.
Okay, but if that's your definition, then you're kind of you could draw those conclusions he will draw, but I don't think but you can look at your unconscious mind. And so it's like, and the examples he's going to use indicate looking at your subconscious mind. So it's kind of like it's very strange, the definitions he's using.
Yeah, the free community, MindChrysalis on the school platform, the self-hypnosis lessons actually show you how to connect to your subconscious and figure out what's down there and what everything means with all the nuance. You can absolutely do it. We've done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. We'll keep moving though.
Now, hang on. Here's what I like about this part here. So there are 2 minds, right? We talk about it. We've got your subconscious mind and we've got your cognitive, conscious, awake, looking around, making decision mind. Your subconscious runs 24/7, even when you're sleeping.
Yeah,
your
dreaming.
Conscious, awake mind is only conscious when you're awake. It's only functioning, generally speaking, when you're looking around, making decisions, and operating throughout the day. So he is correct. So the little guy sitting on either shoulder, yeah, that's cute and it's nice. But the one thing, people say the devil made me do it, or I couldn't help myself, whatever. It's sort of true. In that your subconscious is dictating 95% of the decisions you make throughout the day. Guess what? That means your conscious is only making 5% or roughly. So your subconscious is affecting you all day long and you may not be aware of it. However, the key is, like Jordan said and what Ryan said, you can be aware of what's in there. And if you don't like what's in there, you can reprogram what's in there so that it serves you better and makes you not attractive to the abusers or even seek them out. There's my thoughts.
I agree with everything you said, Tim. And once you get your subconscious working for you, you now have this supercomputer 24/7 automatically working for you. That's what's so great about fixing your subconscious.
Veil.
Otherwise, it could be working against you 24/7. Yeah.
A mind with its own separate desires and motivations. Like some unseen backseat driver, it could take over and steer them in the direction it wanted.
Yep.
Any conscious decision could be overruled if it conflicted with the backseat driver's agenda. When that happened, without even realizing it, individuals might start sidelining or sabotaging their intended goals to satisfy the wishes of their secret mind. Targets of abuse who were consciously determined to avoid abusers could be hypnotically compelled to seek them out in response to some non-conscious impulse. Maybe their secret mind still had feelings for a past abuser and wanted to find a substitute to help them reenact that relationship, hoping for a better outcome. Maybe their secret mind was haunted by a guilty memory and wanted to be punished. In the grip of this undetectable influence, Individuals could then find themselves repeatedly sleepwalking into abusive relationships, or so some therapists would have them believe. Folks from certain religious backgrounds might spot a resemblance between this conjecture about the unconscious and conjecture about demonic possession. In both cases, there's an attempt to explain behavior by appealing to an inaccessible mind. Because of that inaccessibility, any assertions made about the motives
See,
of these
that's kind
supposed
of
hidden
it's
minds.
not inaccessible. It's not inaccessible. That's like, I actually think he frames it pretty reasonably, that there's some guy, calling the shots there. Like his analogy that they almost like they might feel guilty for feeling a certain way, therefore they're going to seek out abusers again. Like, he's actually not framing it too incorrectly, but you are aware of it. You can be aware of it. That's what we help clients do when we talk to them before hypnosis. We try and find those patterns inside them. What we kind of try and reveal to them what those, or help them understand what those unconscious patterns are. And so but he keeps framing it like you can't see it. You can't see it, but it's there. You can't see it, but it's there. It's like, that's not quite the right framing, I think, to use.
Yeah, I think you're right. The key word in all of this, because what he says could be extrapolated in a couple of different ways, but what's most important and inaccurate about what he says is it's inaccessible. Now, it does control us. It does motivate us. It does move us, helps our decision-making, but it is not inaccessible.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes from Carl Jung, the father of modern psychoanalysis, is, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Carl Jung understood, and his whole shadow work, if you guys have heard of shadow work, that's about going into this shadow, this unconscious / subconscious part, and connecting to it, finding out what's there. We do more than just find out what's there. Then we actually fix it, and we typically do it all in one session, not multiple sessions. Yeah, I'm not saying we fix everything in one session, but big chunks each session. Figure out what it is, connect to it, fix it. I do agree here, though, because about like demonic motives, unconscious motives, we can literally believe one thing consciously, with religion, I should do this and that and be, a good man or woman, and a Christian man, Christian woman. I believe I should do all these things. And then there's this other part that's making you sin, or making, the devil made me do it. And conscious mind wants one thing. Our subconscious mind can want something completely different, can believe completely different, feel completely different. A lot of people come to us and they're like, they'll say, "Hey, I've succeeded many times in my life. I'm successful, but I feel no matter what I do, I'm going to fail. I feel like I'm a failure, even though I make $250,000 a year, XYZ, et cetera, et cetera." Logical mind saying I should feel great. I'm very successful. Logically, I'm very successful. I have all these great things, and yet I'm miserable and I feel like a loser and not good enough.
Right.
Thinking one thing, believing one thing, having all the evidence for that one thing is true consciously, completely different belief, desires, etc., subconsciously. So we'll keep moving unless you guys have more.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Are unfalsifiable speculations. Peddlers of demons are free to posit any demonic desire they like, and peddlers of the unconscious can posit any unconscious intention, all without any fear of empirical refutation. In both cases, clients are expected to accept their assertions based purely on fallacious appeals to authority. Their assertions are true because they say so. The concept of unconscious motives might appeal vividly to our imaginations. It can certainly make for entertaining fiction. Alfred Hitchcock revisited the concept as a central plot device in various films, including Spellbound, Psycho, and Marnie, but it has no place in therapy. There's a common misconception that therapy is about coming up with dazzling psychological theories, wildly inventive counterintuitive leaps. In fact, therapy is about straightforward detective work. Therapy.
I do agree with this. You're detecting what's there. Just what's down there. Let's figure out what it is. Using intuition, connecting to your emotions, the language of the subconscious.
And their clients form an investigative alliance. With focused attention, they work.
You actually don't even, some people need therapists, but if you know how to do it, I have a do-it-yourself program. Again, on MindChrysalis, a lot of people on their own can figure a lot of stuff out. Probably not everything. There is some stuff you need outside help for, but there's actually some stuff you can figure out on your own with proper, training, but not necessarily one-on-one.
Right tools.
With the right tools. However, with that said, people go to my the free online do-it-yourself course. Probably about 80% of people benefit. About 20% can't quite figure it out because they can't quite figure out their internal world. The 80% who benefit, there's maybe a few things they can't figure out on their own. So I do think if you have stuff you're struggling with, getting with a pro, like we're not psychologists or therapists. You can call us coaches or hypnotists. We don't want to confuse the two. But at some point, getting one-on-one help for most people is beneficial. But most people can figure out a lot on their own without a therapist, detective-wise, with proper tools.
Together.
And let me add, like I always do, I certainly believe in cognitive behavioral therapy. I believe in family therapy. I believe in marriage therapy, all that different kind of stuff. But first, in order to make them 100% more effective, is you need some subconscious therapy and understanding what's in your subconscious, rewiring your subconscious so it serves you. Those other therapies will be tremendously more impactful in your life than they would be over 10 or 12 or 15 years and 150 sessions.
Yeah. Okay. We'll keep going. Thanks, Tim.
Solid practical clues and build them into an accurate, evidence-based picture that illuminates the substantive issues at play. When we ground ourselves in disciplined empirical investigation, big problems quickly emerge with the notion that cycles of abuse must indicate some underlying attraction to abusers. Many targets who've repeated.
Okay, now we'll go to a case study. The truth is, the abused and the abuser find each other. But let's look at these case studies. I'll go more into that later.
Adam was born into a family dominated by a malignant narcissistic matriarch prone to violent rages. She nicknames him the Clown and routinely threatens to send him away to the circus. At the same time, she does everything she can to stop him ever leaving, sabotaging any sign of independence. Despite her efforts, Adam eventually finds a steady job and moves out. After signing up to a dating app, he's approached by Diane. She's like no one he's ever known, kind, empathic, generous. Before he knows it, they're married, and her caring persona cracks. She becomes cruel and mocking and starts flying into violent rages. Adam feels like he's married a stranger, but he stands firmly by his marriage vows, even when Diane begins to flaunt a string of lovers. Finally, she divorces him for another man.
She did a lot of what his mom did, right? Violent, narcissistic, the mask cracked. You guys have any comments on this?
Well,
I'll let you go first.
Go ahead, Jordan.
That comment he said, before he knows it, he's married. I'm like, that to me is a red flag in and of itself. It's like, you don't just accidentally get married. It's like, it's like,
in fairness to Adam, the Clown, he didn't realize, and we'll learn this later, he didn't realize who his mother was. He just saw that abusive side of her. So now he's not ready for the love bombing from this first wife. And that's
what
what
his mom did to his dad. Guarantee you his mom did that to his dad.
Yeah, guaranteed. So he sees it as a comfortable situation. He's familiar with it. He understands it and he watches it. So now she love bombs him into, before I knew it, I was married. Right. I remember talking to someone very close saying he felt he shouldn't have married this girl. And then when he told her that, tempting to break up, it was, well, that's just the devil talking to you. That's not true kind of thing. And I'm going, wow. Of course, I find this out years later, but that's that control and love bombing and gaslighting that goes on as the narcissist is bringing in their prey. Now, once they get their prey in the clutches, after a little while, it starts turning into this manipulative, I'm going to get you to do what I want. Look how great I am with all my men. so on and so forth, that Adam was suffering through. It happens every time. And Adam's going to get into it again. We'll watch. It's same thing happened again. He got rid of this nasty one and then, kept on going. But let's go, Ryan.
Okay, so first shout out to our guest, Spark55. Welcome to the show. Yeah, toxic shame makes you an abuse magnet. I'm gonna so my mom's a narcissist, so I am intimately aware with this dynamic we're talking about right here. I'm gonna break it down kind of on a more, we've been saying a lot of good stuff, but kind of get it organized and more fundamental as to what
P-Dubs is in the house up there too.
P-Dubs is in the house.
Yep.
Brent was on earlier, so welcome, guys. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We will get to them. But here's the thing. This woman who he married sensed the weakness in him that he was someone she could use and abuse, and in a predatory manner sought him out. She then love bombed him because she knew she could get him hooked on that drug of validation, love, and approval, because his whole life he did not get it. He got the opposite. And this is how narcissists operate with narcissistic relationships. Narcissists are all tortured souls. They have deep down insecurities. They feel not good enough, but how they cope with that is they do everything they can to divorce themselves from this traumatic inside world they have, and they put up this false persona, this person who's it could be someone in a really, like if it's a religious person, they'll be super righteous, or it could be a woman who makes herself very attractive. It could be a guy who's like this larger than life and he has big plans and he's a high roller or just whatever, but they put out like this really charming persona that seems, very attractive and has all these great qualities. It's a false persona. It's all an illusion. It's all front. The real them feels like crap. The real them feels a lot of toxic shame, but this is how they cope with it. And narcissists are basically emotion. I mean, there's a lot more. You can call them energy vampires, but they are emotional bullies. Here's what happens with bullies. A schoolyard bully has some stuff going on at home or otherwise where he feels powerless. And he's like, well, geez, I feel powerless, insignificant. Then he beats up a kid and he's like, I feel pretty powerful now. So all of this predatory people, we say hurt people, they are hurting others to make themselves feel better. So when they feel insignificant or invisible or unimportant or powerless, instead of physically beating you up, they can emotionally do it and say, look, I have this effect on this person. I am influencing this person. That means I do have power. And it's a way for powerless people to feel powerful, but they're getting their needs met in a predatory fashion, in a maladaptive fashion that's hurting others. So we say hurt people. So this lady was looking for someone that that had this weakness she could exploit. The weakness was this guy went his whole life just wanting his mom to love and accept him. And instead of loving and accepting him, she just emotionally bullied him so she'd feel better. Being the puppet master with the marionette strings, getting a power trip off of, look what I can do with this puppet.
Yep.
And feeling better about herself, feeling not so insignificant because she had this power. And so because of that, his entire upbringing, he had this need for love and validation that wasn't met. And when we don't feel good enough, when we have this toxic shame, narcissists will make you feel worthless. So you feel worthless, all this toxic shame. And then someone comes along giving you just a flood of validation, love, approval. You're so great. You're so awesome. And for someone who doesn't feel good enough, who doesn't know how to validate themselves, thinks they're worthless, all of a sudden it's like this angel from heaven comes and gives them all the love they wanted their whole life and never got, and now they're getting it. And that is like a drug to the guy here. This woman is doing it because once she gets him hooked on that drug, she gets her hooks in, and now she can do whatever the hell she wants and he will put up with it in hopes of he'll get the more drug. Why? You look at drug addicts, alcoholics, all these terrible effects of the drug abuse. They keep using the drug. Why? Because it's giving them something they need, that they desperately need. They desperately need to cover up the pain in them. That's what alcohol and drugs and all this other stuff do. Well, that's what she's doing. He has massive pain. She's giving him that drug that makes him feel great. And then she starts abusing him. And then just every now and then she'll drip feed him some validation to keep stringing him along. And he puts up with it. It's not dissimilar. She's a cocaine. He's a cocaine addict.
Yep.
But she is also a cocaine addict because she needs to be able to be the puppet master, to be the emotional bully, to get the feelings of power and significance from having this effect on another person. That is the drug she needs to make her not feel like crap. So they are each drug addicts trying, now this guy in the forefront, he's not predatory. He's just getting massively used. But there is a whole dynamic here. So it's not just that this guy is being now it's interesting that this woman, not all narcissists are violent. This one was, just like his mom. And there is that dynamic going on as well, where there's some familiarity here. The first ideal person in our life is our mom and dad. And our subconscious knows that. And if someone else has traits like our mom and dad, it'll be like, this is an ideal person. So there's that. There's actually quite a few things going on here. But you guys have anything to add before we keep going?
Yeah, I'll toss something out there. So
Yeah.
we talk about this narcissistic behavior and how it attracts people. If it's inside the family, you're trapped. But if this narcissist is, running around the world looking for the next victim, it's sort of like tiptoeing through the tulips. They're just spreading flowers everywhere to see who gets attracted, right? The drug seller running around the street selling hits for $5. The first ones were free or whatever. He's looking for someone to come back to him. It's the same thing that she or he is doing as a narcissist. They're putting out this vibe. They're putting out this love. They're putting out this whatever. And they're watching for those body language, eye contact, behavior, whatever, that are attracted to that. And that will immediately attract them to that person and start that cycle.
It's bait,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
What's that?
There you go.
It's basically bait.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, a little later on, there's two things. There's especially one thing, but also a second thing. Two things you can do to cure this guy, if not in one session, within a few for most people. And then all of a sudden, this being attractive to abusive person after abusive person, that whole dynamic is just not there anymore.
Correct.
I've experienced this. I used to, get these girls that were like my mom. That hasn't happened for like 20 plus years. You can fix that. We'll tell you later on how you do it, but let's watch more first.
After the split, Adam is pursued by Fiona, a co-worker who supported him tirelessly through his divorce. Before he knows it, they're married. With nauseating deja vu, he watches her kind demeanor dissolve into violent rages.
She, again, getting love bombed. She's supporting him, right? Being this loving, supportive woman, getting him hooked on the drug, the validation he desperately needs because he feels like crap about himself.
However he met this girl, somehow she picked up that he was unhappy in his marriage, complaining about it, whatever. And she says, oh, there's my opportunity. She loved bombing, was sympathetic a little bit. He played back on that, and boom, there goes the cycle again.
Yeah. So the predators here intentionally seek out vulnerable people like the clown here, this gentleman here, because your average person, once that abuse starts, they're gonna say, "You're freaking nuts. I'm out of here," and they leave.
They just don't react.
But this guy who's desperate for validation, love, and approval, they love bomb at the start. They get you hooked on that drug. She's gonna drip feed it every now and then to keep him hooked. But he will tolerate the abuse to keep getting that validation. So codependency. This guy's codependent. FYI, codependent as hell. He's dependent on her for validation, and he'll put up with her abuse to get a little validation every now and then. Codependency, I heard a psychologist describe it as self-love deficit disorder. You resolve your past issues with your mom. You learn how to give yourself unconditional love, validation, and support, and you get that in your core that you're good enough just as you are. This dynamic doesn't happen anymore.
Yep.
And that's, you know, what we do. Again, we're more coaches and hypnotists, not psychologists, not therapists, but that's how you fix it. But we'll keep going. Oops.
Feeling devastated and trapped, Adam signs up for 6 sessions at a counseling charity. His therapist tells him he's drawn to abusive partners because he's looking for women like his mother. On a
And they're drawn to him.
symbolic level, he's trying to win his mother's love. Adam says his wives were nothing like his mother before he married them, but his therapist says he would have picked up on their real natures unconsciously. He bows to her professional opinion.
That's true. Our subconscious is 1,000 times more powerful than our conscious. It picks up on all these micro stuff our conscious mind doesn't notice. That's true.
After 6 sessions talking about his mother, Adam emerges none the wiser. Still desperate for a solution, he decides to continue with therapy and engages a long-term private therapist who is surprised.
Yeah, they gave him facts and didn't fix him, didn't help him,
Yep.
didn't heal his trauma. That's the problem.
To find takes a very different empirical approach. She explores 2 practical questions. First, what factors drew Adam into these marriages? Second, when he realized they were abusive, what kept him in these marriages? Together, they identified some of the actual issues driving Adam's abusive cycle. First, they acknowledged a simple truth. Adam was deceived. Both of his wives had misled him with a string of lies and misrepresentations. There was no substantive reason to believe some secret part of his mind had seen through their deception to their true natures, or made any connection between them and his mother. In looking at how he'd been manipulated, Adam recalled how
He, at some level, I do think he connected these women with his mom. There's actually a lot of data on that. An overwhelming amount of data that we end up marrying people that have certain traits that our parents have. And it's because as young children, all young children idealize their parents because we need them to be ideal so that we feel safe that they're able to support us. But keep going.
Hey, Jordan's got something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, the actual issue is he was deceived. It's like
He wasn't.
That was it? That was it?
But I don't understand. He knows that. Like that's I don't under.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. Yeah, that's like
So-
duh. 2 + 2 = 4. Duh.
It's
So-
like
so
you thought you
let's-
had one. Yeah.
Remember that these therapists are looking at the cognitive conscious world. So was he cognitively deceived? Sure, because what was out here floating around in the verbal oral world was this girl throwing love at him, right? So he was a little deceived. His subconscious was not deceived. His subconscious knew what he was looking for to make himself feel good, and she was throwing that out there, right? So sure, he was deceived cognitively, but the subconscious wasn't deceived. Was he overwhelmed? I'm sure. He was probably gaslit like a mother humper. And you know what? You can't, when you're looking for that drug and she's just pouring that drug in gallons on him, what can he do? He can't even resist.
Yeah, for me, having a narcissistic mom and then starting to date in my teens, college, it was like I was just, if only I can find a girl who would love and support me, to complete me, to be my other half, and then all this pain would go away. And that's literally the mindset of the, you know, your mom is replaced by your mate later on. Well, you should not look at your mate as your mom, but because she's not,
you can't help
your
it.
mate. But the you know, when we're born in this world, we don't know anything. We have a little instincts. We're trying to figure everything out. What are men like? What are women like? What's an ideal man like? What's an ideal woman like? We're trying to figure out all this stuff. We form all these beliefs, draw all these conclusions, and every child idealizes their parents. I mean, just Google it. I mean, there's just so much data on this. It's ridiculous. So, of course, when you're a child idealizing your parents, and you're like, I don't know anything. What's a marriage relationship or what's a love relationship supposed to look like? Well, here's what my mom and dad do. What's an ideal woman? Well, my mom's ideal. Look, these are her, and this is all subconscious, gets buried down in us. So what happens is we go through the world now as adults, and our subconscious communicates to us through feelings. It doesn't tell us why it gives us the feelings, it just does. So now you see, and our subconscious processing 1,000 times more per second, picking up on eye dilation, picking up on heartbeats, picking up on speech patterns, and just all sorts of stuff our conscious doesn't even notice.
Yep.
You'll see a woman, and your subconscious is like, oh, she has some traits that are a match for the ideal woman when I observe my mom as the ideal woman, and will give you an emotion of attraction, but maybe also comfort and familiarity or connection. And that's just how it is. So we have some, so yeah, he is attracting these type of women, but they are also predatorily seeking out him because they know they can get him on the hook by love bombing him, and that he won't leave when they do all their bull crap. Furthermore, he's like, there's a part of him where it's like, well, yeah, I was abused as a kid. This is familiar to me. I'm getting abused now. And we are attracted to the familiar. Part of us, if we've been abused, wants to solve, go back to the scene of the crime. Why did my mom treat me so bad? Why did my dad? Well, now I'm with this other abusive woman. If I can fix this situation, then I'll know how to fix the situation with me and my mom. So there's multiple layers of stuff going on here. Just some of the comments real quick. Leopard Leather Works. Your mom was a narcissist, did emotional damage. Yeah, did a session for you. Did that help? Let us know. She is an emotional bully. That's Tim's wife. Spark 55. Does this tie into Stockholm syndrome too? Absolutely.
You bet.
Absolutely.
100%.
This is Stockholm syndrome. She's an abuser. He's the abused. Why stay together? All right. Anything else to add, guys?
No.
All right.
Keep going.
Overwhelmed he'd felt when he began seeing them. In the rare moments they weren't physically together, they'd be constantly phoning and messaging him. They blocked out everything and everyone else. At the time, he read their intensity as love. Now he could see how they were giving him no space to think. Adam also recognized he had a problem handling positive attention. It aroused a jumble of feelings. He enjoyed it, and it made him squirm. He felt grateful and obligated, as if he was being given too much of something, building up some kind of debt.
Well, and that's true. His subconscious, his mom would give him validation with strings attached. My mom did that. Yeah. You want this validation, don't you? Well, there's strings attached. So now he feels that way now. I guarantee you. That's that's his subconscious. That's what's down there.
Wanted to run from it and wanted more of it.
Desperate for the validation, knowing there's pain attached. Because that's what his
to
mom
run.
did.
He wanted to get away from the abuse because it hurts, but he wanted more of it.
Yeah, and at some level, well, he wanted the love and validation, but he knows there's abuse there too. So it's like, oh shit, this is what I desperately need, but I know there's so much pain tied to it. Wanting more and yet wanting to run. This was his childhood being reenacted over and over and over. Our brain motivates us towards that which is familiar. And a lot of these people who feel not good enough, feel not worthless at some subconscious level, and again, I'm talking from experience, but there's also a lot of data on this. At a subconscious level, they're like, well, I don't deserve this person who's like a really good person, who has no trauma, who's emotionally healthy and has all sorts of good things. I'm not good enough for that. But at a subconscious level, he can sense there is some trauma with this predator and kind of feels a bond or connection. Oh, this person has some trauma too. So we have this connection because we both know what it's like to suffer. Because I guarantee you at some point, his subconscious sense, because these narcissists, they do suffer. They are tortured souls. They're dealing with their trauma in a predatory way, whereas he's dealing with it in a codependent way. But they are bonded through the fact that, we're in some way we're a match because we both know what it feels like to feel like crap. So there's like this subtext of this connection there that they don't even acknowledge it. All subconscious. Anyone else want to add anything? We'll keep going.
Same thing. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to finish the example and then I can comment because
in this conflicted state, he felt constantly off balance. Many targets of abuse struggle with positive attention. They might flee from a compliment. This kind of discomfort can act like a signpost to abusers, reading, "not accustomed to being treated well." In the process of identifying these kinds of factors, the mystery of how Adam had found himself married to complete strangers began to make sense. This practical awareness also helped immunize him from future repetition. When Adam reflected on what kept him in these abusive marriages, his reflex response was that he had no choice. He'd made solemn marriage vows he couldn't break. Adam's therapist explored where this rigid thinking came from. Adam recognized his father's voice. From an early age, Adam had strongly aligned himself with his father, who he saw as the good parent, and aspired to uphold his values. A value frequently repeated by his father was never break a promise. Thinking further back, Adam could hear his grandfather's voice in there too. Both men saw divorce as something deeply shameful. Adam had absorbed these values as absolute law. Now he could see how they kept him imprisoned in 2 abusive marriages. In reassessing his father's values, he began to reassess his father. He used to see him as a man of superhuman integrity and patience. Now he just seemed trapped, straitjacketed by the same rigid, oversimplistic values he'd passed down to Adam.
So subconsciously, he's like, if I'm like my dad, I'm a good guy because my dad was a good guy. So I'm going to keep putting up with this bull crap. And there are a lot of times where our ideas of what's right, ethics and morals actually leads us to stay in situations we shouldn't stay in because it's the quote unquote right thing to do. It's not actually the right thing to do. It is a thing you were raised and told was right.
Correct.
It's not right to let this predator keep destroying you. But you were told that. And you had some.
So this is
Bill, go ahead, Jordan.
This is where he starts using this like, but it's not the unconscious. It's like you just described what the unconscious mind is like, but
Yeah,
he's like, but it's not. You're not unconsciously
figure this out. Now you're figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't
like,
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
he doesn't
strange because he's getting a lot of the analysis right. He's like, he's got this unconscious idea in his head that he needs to never break a promise passed down from his father. It's like, well, where do you think that information is being stored?
That's
He
in the
doesn't know.
unconscious.
It's
know.
like, so this is
Yeah.
where I don't think he's using the word unconscious the same way, because he's describing the same model of this issue the way we might describe, but he's like, well, that's not the unconscious. That's just it's like, well, what is it then? He's like, well, it's just a pattern. So
I don't know.
think he's
I think
using
he's being
the
inconsistent.
word,
but whatever.
yeah.
I think he's using the word unconscious correctly. He just doesn't understand what he's saying, right? He's like you said, he's saying all the right things because, the devil made me do it. Okay, who's the devil? How did that make you do it? What is it that happens there? Well, it's your unconscious, your subconscious, whatever you want to call it. It is dictating 95% of the things you do throughout the day. But you feel you're powerless, and you are until you learn that you could get into the subconscious, understand what's there, and fix it. Just that simple. So, I agree with you, Jordan. It's like he's talking about something correctly, but he has no idea what he's talking about.
We'll
Is that weird?
Interesting take. Yeah, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
Yep.
As Adam became aware of the actual issues driving his cycle of abuse, he was able to start addressing them. No longer feeling obliged to keep his marriage vows, he left Fiona. His mother tried to shame him over his 2 failed marriages, but Adam said he preferred to think of them as 2 successful divorces.
See, the mother got back in there, man.
Okay, so we don't want to get into another case study, but
Very, very interesting. You
go ahead.
It's like, why would he bring up the fact that he has an abusive mother? I think the point was like, well, it has nothing to do with his mother, but I'm gonna bring it up because his mother was abusive, and he just happened to find 2 identically abusive women. It's like
Did he happen to just fall into an abusive mother? I mean, no. She abused him. She trained him.
His theme is kind of all over the place a little bit.
Yeah,
it is a little bit.
But he's got good information in there, and he's correct on so many things, and he doesn't know why he's correct.
Yeah,
and I don't think
it says is close to right or right.
Correct.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Well, I don't think it's just I'm not convinced it's just as simple as recognizing them and then just consciously changing. Like, I want to know the follow-up is like, did he actually find, like, how did you break the cycle? I mean, you have to be aware of it, but clients come to us because they're struggling to change. A lot of them know what their issues are that they keep repeating, but they can't. They're struggling to break out of that because it's like they're sucked into that behavior. And I'm not convinced that this guy just consciously recognizing the issue is going to then automatically always going to be able to protect himself from it.
No,
He's
No,
going
he
to put his medal on his chest saying, I now have 2 successful divorces. I know I was in an abusive relationship, but give him 6 months, a year, whatever, and he is going to find that third abusive wife. It can't. I mean, I would be shocked if he didn't fall into another one or just stay single the rest of his life because it's too painful. And then he can jump into porn or video games or drugs or drinking or
cover
whatever
up that pain.
calm that pain.
Yeah. So did this therapy help him? Yes, but there's a big issue here, and you guys have already touched on it. It was like, okay, now I understand what's going on in my subconscious. Now I understand that, oh, I'm doing this because my dad did the same thing. And we idealize our parents. So I'm going to do what my dad did. My dad was a good guy, et cetera, et cetera. And so now he cognitively understands, okay, I shouldn't get with these type of women. I should let them go. I cognitively understand that I don't need to stay in an abusive relationship. That all cognitively makes sense. All that trauma and pain is still there.
Yep.
They didn't even freaking address the trauma. They just said, okay, think this way now. Okay, now I have this conscious understanding. I'm going to do things different. Okay, happily ever after. No, all that trauma did they say they cured his toxic shame?
Nope.
Did they say anything about that? Did they say anything about fixing his deep childhood wounds? No. They're using cognitive methods to manage symptoms.
Like I said in the beginning,
just like you did.
They helped him build this conscious frame built on sand. It's going to wash away. It's going to fall away as soon as the next love bombing comes in that particular example. He still doesn't have a solid inner frame on which to build a good frame to stand up and weather the storm.
Yeah, they didn't say a thing. They did not say, they talked about what's in his unconscious, becoming aware of it, and then taking a new approach cognitively.
Right.
They didn't say anything about fixing any subconscious belief systems. They didn't say anything about fixing subconscious trauma, about healing this wound, or anything subconsciously resolving anything between him and his parents. They didn't even address it. So 95% of the problem's still there.
Yes.
That 5% fix was enough to get him divorced. And did that help? Yeah, absolutely. It did help, to a degree.
That's a start.
I did 15 years of therapy on and off, 100 sessions. Did not fix my anxiety at all. It did fix about 60% of my depression, but the last few years of therapy did not do anything. And it maybe fixed 20% of my rage. I had a lot of rage. So here I am after 15 years of therapy. Instead of like very severe depression with mild manias, is bipolar type 2 manic depression. Instead of very severe, even I was diagnosed extreme depression, worst diagnosis. So instead of that, now I have kind of like moderate depression, and then a lot of like buried anger and rage that would bubble up sometimes. Like Tim, when you the pizza in my fridge was old and you threw it out and I got pissed off at you.
Yep.
And you're probably like, dang,
it's really a freaking pizza. I'll buy you another one.
That was some of the rage in me, but didn't resolve that. And my anxiety was just all the time super anxious. And, sometimes I'd sleep until noon because I was exhausted from my internal trauma. And you saw that. I don't have any of that now. Anxiety is, I'd say it's 95% gone, because still 10% of your anxiety is healthy. Like, and again, I'm talking for me. Some people, 100% of their anxiety is healthy. My anxiety I have now is healthy, and it's not very often, and it's pretty manageable. It's 5-10% of what it used to be. But, we're not going to be robots and get rid of all our emotions. Sometimes anxiety serves us. It's like, hey, there is a threat here. Be careful.
Yep.
So anxiety gone, rage, anger, I won't say it is. Well, I would say that's probably about 95% gone too. The only thing I get pissed off at now is bullies and sometimes my camera equipment. Pretty
Well,
much
that's
it. Depression,
justified.
100% gone.
Totally
Been gone
justified.
for a long time. My income doubled within 2 years of fixing this stuff, and then it doubled again. And it's you fix your inner world and you untap your potential. Leopard Leatherworks in the chat. That's your wife, and her business is exploding. And she tried 20 businesses, couldn't get them off the ground.
At least.
Fixed her trauma. Yeah, fixed her trauma one session, and it grew like 70% last quarter. I don't know. It's
and
whatever.
She's rocking on this Leopard Leatherworks business, and she's now is training to become a travel agent. So she's going to be doing both of those. She's a freaking beast. She's a beast now. I mean, she is unstoppable.
You get all this crap out of you, and then you just go after what you want, and you have authentic confidence. The real you is the best part of you. We got to do something with our life, now that all these blocks are gone and you believe in your ability and value, let's go after what we want. And that's what people do. Yeah. Let's get the great relationships we want. Let's this guy with all his trauma in them, I guarantee you, if he gets in a relation, unless he fixes that trauma, if he gets another relationship, it'll be abusive, because they never address the fact that deep down he doesn't feel good enough for a healthy relationship. Right. And I guarantee you that's there. I guarantee it. I know how, from firsthand experience, but also a lot of research and study, I know how codependency works. And he has all these, and of course he would be codependent after being abused like that. He has all the signs of it. So fix the core. They just address surface level stuff here. Does it help? Yeah. You got to fix your core, man. You get all that crap out of you, heal it. Anything else to add, guys? That's how you don't get in abusive relationships anymore. They will not be a match for you. She'll pull, first time she pulls some of her crap, you're gonna say that's not cool. I had a girl I dated last week, same thing. She tried to dominate me the whole date. It's like no second date. Bye. Never see her again. Doesn't matter.
So in wrapping this up, if you don't feel good enough to your core, or you feel alone and like you don't belong to somebody, or you don't feel safe, or you don't feel like you can get what you want, and when you get it, you deserve it and should enjoy it immensely, or, and lastly, you've got any trapped rage, resentment, or anger harbored in your body anywhere, contact one of us. Just give us a shout, shoot us an email, whatever you need to do to get a hold of us. Let's just start talking. Every single one of us have a free 30-minute consult that we'll just sort of shoot the breeze with you and figure out if this is the way to go. And also school.com for 80% of you out there that will learn some things and maybe even repair a few things without our help. We help with the big, deep stuff that's been lasting for a long, long time. We're here to help you. Give us a shout.
Yep. Links are in the description. So that's all I had for today. I think, Tim, you're good too. Anything final, Jordan?
It's just people with high self-esteem don't fall into those traps that man falls into. And so just to say that, and so it's so critical to solve that inner world so that you don't become that person who's abused, because people who tolerate that kind of poor like people with high self-esteem don't tolerate bad behavior from other people. They remove them from their life, and it's automatic. So it's fix your inner world. You will thank yourself.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, very good. So that is our show for today. You can fix your inner world. You can change what you believe, how you feel, what's in your subconscious at a deep core level. And hey, use the cognitive techniques too, because they do help. But really, they should never be used in isolation. You always got to go down and fix the trauma. You got to fix the root cause as to why you keep getting into these. Don't just have understanding and, okay, I'll do it differently now. That's your conscious mind. Fix the core, fix the deep down beliefs and feelings, the trauma, fix the subconscious. You have the power to do it. You have more power than you know. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in.